Top of the morning to you, and hello on this wonderful Good Friday to Wow Ergonomics. How are you, Stephen?
I'm pretty good. I wasn't expecting that top of the morning from you, to be honest. That was quite impressive. Is that sort of a homage to Rory McIlroy having won the Masters last week? Is that what you were thinking? A
Absolutely.
little homage to our Rory.
Well, why not? It's look, golf's very different these days.
Mm.
Yeah, I remember golf when golf was golf. Nick Faldo,
Oh,
Semi
Sir Sir
Balance,
Nick Faldo to you.
Sir Nick Faldo, who very famously, let's talk about ergonomics for a minute, and
Okay,
Nick
yeah.
Faldo, because Nick Faldo famously had
Mm.
to completely reinvent his swing, didn't
He
he?
did.
Midway through his career, because
Mm.
otherwise he would have injured himself. So that was important.
Oh, nice little ergonomic segue in the first minute. Very well
Yeah.
done.
I've known a fair few people that have had to do that.
Mm.
Actually, I knew a very famous bass player that had to do that. He had
Right.
to completely relearn how he played bass because he was starting to develop tendonitis in his
Right. Okay.
wrist. So he did, which is incredible. And of course,
But was he able? This is the interesting thing when people sort of reinvent themselves. Was he able to get to the standard of bass that he was delivering before,
yes.
or did he improve? Or did he actually improve?
Well, yeah. Did he improve? He was pretty damn good. So I'd say he definitely got to the standard that he was
Yeah.
before, right? But this is an interesting fact, and it's an interesting thing for all of you to think of out there today, which is that if those people can do it, you can do it. And so when people say say, oh, maybe you should try using your left hand for certain tasks, with your keyboard or your mouse or
Mm.
whatever, try it, right? Because if you use the same hand all of the time, you may wear it out. But actually, it's just a bit of brain training,
Mm.
right? And
Now,
I
I
always
wonder how long it would take. And I've never done this, but maybe this is a little challenge. I've always moused, as it were, right-handed. I wonder if I was to go and get one of our left-handed mice. I wonder how long it would take me to get up to speed with it. I wonder how
4 weeks.
do you reckon?
Yeah,
4 weeks to train my brain to mouse
yeah,
left-handed.
yeah.
Okay. There's a
Honestly,
little challenge in there, I think, isn't there? I think we need to maybe what we need to do is we need to have some Wow Ergonomics guinea pigs
yeah.
to do that and then get an update from them, get them on the show, and then invite them back 4 weeks later and see how they've got on.
They
I
have
reckon
to
we could.
they have to commit to it,
Yeah,
right?
you got to
You
stick with it.
can't just go. It's like the old Duolingo. Other language apps are
Yeah.
available, right? You can't just go, oh, give up, right? You got to stick with it.
You got to
You've got to
see it through.
you got to do your hour or so. But no, what I genuinely, the amount of people over the years where I said to them, I'm going to get you either a mouse that you can use either with both hands, or I'm going to get you a left-hand mouse as well, right? And I want you to use it to begin with. In week 1, I want you to use it for just an hour a day,
Mm.
right? So that you're not impacting on your productivity too much.
Yeah.
And it's important to pick on tasks that aren't too complex, right? Because especially if you're doing like graphic stuff or whatever, you're probably not going to have the fine motor neurone
No.
capacity with left hand to right hand. But pick something like just opening emails with it, bit
Yeah.
of a scroll, click,
Mm.
an hour to begin with, up it to 2 hours the next week, 3 hours. By week 4, you'll be on it. Honestly,
I think we should ask today's guest when she's introduced whether she. Now you see, for what she does, that would be a big thing, wouldn't it? Because that's a huge part of what she'll be doing. It will be a lot of intricate work. I'm guessing quite heavy in those sort of things. So that could be a big shift for someone who does a lot of computer work like she would do.
well, let's find out as we welcome our guest today, Sarah. Sarah,
Hello, guys. Thank you for
hello.
having me. Hello.
Hello.
How do you
Welcome.
mouse?
This one, right hand.
Right hand. Always been right-handed?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Have you ever tried with your left hand?
No, but hearing you talk, I'm really tempted. Maybe not now, but after.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because I mean, just break down for us. Tell us a little bit about what you do, and then just kind of break down maybe for us. What does that look like? What does a typical day in the life of a social media VA look like? So give us an idea of like, oh, I might be doing so many hours of this, so many hours of that.
Okay, so I write, post, and interact and make images for my clients. So those could be people like tradespeople, like they make doors and windows, or opticians or coaches. So it can be any small business. And what will happen is they do want to show up on social media. They do want to find their next client. They do want to tell people what they do, but they're super busy. You know, they're doing their actual job. So if they're smart, like these ones are, they outsource to someone like me. So I've been a personal assistant for 25 years plus, and I set up as a virtual assistant 8 years ago. And all that really means is that I'm freelance PA now. So that means that, you know, they can take some hours and it can be flexible, or they can buy packages and stuff like that. And I think of content, get content from them, meet with them regularly to try and make sure that I'm putting their tone of voice on things, because one client won't say the sorts of things another client would say. So, for example, I've been doing Happy Easter posts today for some, but it won't suit every business. It's not right for the company I work for that do audio visual equipment, for example. Not because they're too serious, but because it just doesn't fit their voice. But the Windows company, who are like a mum, a dad, and their sons and daughters all work there, and they've got an office dog that's dressed up as a bunny, they're all over it. So it works for some, it doesn't.
Office dog that's dressed up as a bunny.
We need to see that.
No animal cruelty, of course, but
No.
So, you know, it works for some and it doesn't work for others, and you need to understand that. So that's fine. That's good. And then a normal day. So have you ever come across Trello at all?
Yeah, Trello boards. Yep.
So it's just an online sort of project management type of free software, and I use those boards to lay out people's social media. So I'll keep a lovely content library, which means that, you know, you're never stuck for what to say. And then so I log into there and I start posting for them based on what day we're on. Use different pillars and themes and stuff, and those all go out. And then I also do engagement and growth on LinkedIn for certain accounts. Which just means that, you know, they're getting into spaces where their name and their job title, it's important for them to be seen and to be interacting. Again, because if you're a CEO or a director, you don't have hours a day to do these things, but we all know that it's critical marketing to interact with others. Otherwise it'd be like going to a networking meeting and saying nothing. So
no, it always makes me laugh when I see these posts on LinkedIn. There was one yesterday that I saw at 1 o'clock in the morning that said, how many hours a day do you spend on LinkedIn? You've all seen those, like, on a regular basis. And it's like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And I went 12 hours. And they always go, what? And I'm like, yeah, I live here. Literally live here. You know, this is it. I'm on here. Like yesterday, I started yesterday at 7:30, I think, and I turned LinkedIn off at 3 o'clock in the morning. So that was a long day. You know?
We'd be worried about you, Graham.
No, it was just.
You're all right.
It was just I wanted to yesterday because I had the opportunity. The wife was away for the night. I can't sleep when she's away. No, it's you know, it's difficult, isn't it, when your partner's away? So I just thought, no, I'm just going to stay up and cause havoc, and I did. I mean, typically, I guess I'd probably be on LinkedIn for what, 5-6 hours a day, probably something like that. But yeah, these people but people think like they can turn up on a social media platform for like 10-15 minutes, post one post a day, and it will all happen. You know, it's
You're not looking at me, are you, there, Graham?
No.
No, good.
I am looking at certain people within the ergonomic sector, though. That's for certain, but it can't. So it's quite what I'm saying here, though. So is people don't realise it's quite a lot of work, isn't it?
I want to agree with you because you're the host, but my values and my philosophy in my business is I don't want to scare business owners. I don't want to say you should be doing this and you shouldn't do that and this is terrible. What I want to say is start where you're at. So if you're only comfortable posting once a day and doing a bit of commenting, do that and build up. Or maybe take someone on who's more comfortable when you've got the budget to do that. I never want to scare somebody off of posting because I do genuinely see I've got a free Facebook group for business owners.
Yeah.
And I see that some of them are like quite scared to start and they don't know what to say and they're not sure what to do and they get all overwhelmed and then nothing happens. So I always try to take a very gentle approach. You're absolutely right. Being consistent is key and putting work in is important too. It's a bit like a sales process, isn't it? So but my sort of philosophy is to start where you are and just keep building on that and gaining confidence, because I do remember a time when I thought LinkedIn was terrifying.
Yeah, no, that is fair comment, and I was just trying to fan it for you, because you obviously spend a fair bit of time for other people on there, and what I'm saying is I don't know that people necessarily appreciate what work that is. Do you know what I mean?
I guess I feel so strongly about it. I never want to scare anybody off, and I never want to disinclude anybody.
No.
I want to help them. I want to.
Do you know what? That is right. Literally, it's better that you post what you can on a platform than not do it at all.
Oh yes.
You know, it's better that you engage on the platform with one person rather than not engage on a platform at all.
Yeah.
And the other thing with that as well is I think a lot of people don't realize that actually this could save them time in a day as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about that in the past, Stephen.
Yeah.
A lot of people, how many people still phone up people or get in a car? Imagine this, get in a car, go out and see people, right? With samples and stuff like that, turn up at, I mean, it's slightly different when Stephen does it because people know that he's coming.
Yeah.
Right. But how many reps and, you know, business development managers and whatever are out there, and they literally, you know, they're cold calling, they're out on the road, they knock from door to door and whatever. And some of that warm up stuff, they could have done that online. They could have done a little bit, they could have been a little bit smarter, they could have done a little bit more research, they could have understood who's talking about what, where, with whom, you know, maybe entered into the beginnings of some conversation first and then gone to see somebody.
Yeah,
you know?
There's this big opportunity there that not everybody's caught up with just yet. But I think I'm seeing it's getting there. But yeah, it's a huge opportunity for someone like you to train them how to optimize the platform.
Now, I'm interested, Sarah, what you said there about planning. And Graham, I know you'll do a lot of planning with the social media posts you do. There's been a couple of sort of, I guess, events recently. One of them may be around the president of a certain country. And in particular, you've obviously probably both seen this a lot this morning on LinkedIn, is, you know, a certain court judgment that came out yesterday. They tend to sort of swamp LinkedIn a little bit. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying they tend to then really fill up people's feeds. When you're looking to work for businesses to help drive people's awareness of them, how do you have to sort of react to unprecedented or unexpected news stories sort of taking over the feed to make sure you can still be seen and you can still achieve what you're looking to achieve?
That's a really good question.
How do you combat that?
It's a great question. I must be honest and say that the only time this has come up for me was when the Queen passed away. So what had been planned was pulled.
Yeah.
And then something appropriate or nothing, depending on the feeling of the client, was posted.
I agree.
The stuff in the USA, I'm not saying it's not important, but for the types of clients that I serve,
Mm.
they're kind of out of that world and world.
Yeah.
And certainly I never either write or comment on their behalf in a political manner. It's always quite safe and quite friendly and supportive. Just because back in the day when I was looking after an MD or a CEO, I would have only have ever have said something to keep them in a quite a neutral light, and I do the same with clients, rightly or wrongly. You know, that there's so much emotive engagement around the big topics like the two you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And you're right, it gets swamped, but there's going to be certain kinds of people that interact with that and pay attention to that, and then there's the rest of us just carrying on working. But I think, yeah, the big one for me was when the Queen passed away. It was all a bit like the country went, oh, okay, this means a great deal to us here. And
I think,
everybody was agreed with that kind of
yeah,
thing.
I'm going to agree completely with Sarah there. I think it's the right thing to do. There are certain things that I will not be agnostic about, but most things I will be agnostic about. And actually, if you look at what I've done over the years with my poll, done that for over 5.5 years now. I don't actually tend to take a side.
Right.
What I do is I tend to I call it true journalism. I was trained as a journalist, and back in the days when journalism was journalism, not spin, right? And I was always taught to bring both sides of the argument and give, you know, the balanced view so that allow people to make their own minds up. And that's what I try and do. I try and start a conversation. If people want to then create war on my post, I don't have a problem with that.
No.
Right. So if someone wants to, you know, launch in and take it off in a particularly I mean, if I ever saw somebody on one of my posts say something that I felt was really terrible,
yes,
I would remove that comment. And this is an interesting point. I don't think a lot of people know that they can do this. You can actually remove comments from posts, right? So if somebody else, and I don't like doing that, that would be a last resort for me, in the same way that I don't like people blocking people, because to silence them, I think that, you know, we should have good professional open debate. But if somebody takes something in a, you know, says something that I just cannot agree with, or I just feel like is you know, politically extremist or whatever, I will just remove it from the post. Because, and especially if you're working for a client, you know, you've got to think not just of that client, but you've then got to think of every stakeholder that then would potentially see that client's work. Right? Not just customers, but potential customers, or, you know, if they're in, say for example, if they're in your world, Stephen, you know, you would want to make sure that it's right in terms of EDI. You'd want to make sure that it's, you know, ticking all the right boxes in terms of ethnicity, cultural diversity, all of those things.
Yeah.
Right. Because otherwise it could be problematic. But it is a difficult one, because sometimes you need to inject a little bit of humor. Sometimes you do need to inject a bit of personality. And if you don't, then effectively you've got ChatGPT, which is another great subject.
Do you know what? I'm going pre-social media here, but the first thing that came to mind when you were talking about that was Gerald Ratner, and the old describing his own stuff as crap, I think was his terminology used, wasn't it? And you think about, can you imagine that, if that, you know, can you imagine that now, that sort of social media post having gone out? Can you imagine the sort of the social media departments and the, you know, sort of jumping all over those sort of pre-social media comments, and how they would have managed them and controlled them?
Well, it happens still to this day, you know. And it wasn't that long ago that a certain boss of a certain supermarket said something ridiculous about working hours and pay and whatever. And, you know, look what happened. Everybody jumps on it, and it doesn't do that supermarket any good. I think, and I'd love to have your opinion on this, Sarah. This is an interesting one. I think one of the problems that people find in this whole arena is there's obviously, especially if they work for somebody, if you're doing work for a business, there's the business brand, but there is also their personal brand.
Yep.
And that some people will just focus on it as almost one brand, right? They are the business, and this is the brand of the business, and I want to come over as the business. Other people understand that they will do slightly better if they develop a more personal brand and the business brand, right? And then let one feed into the other. But once you start allowing the personal brand to come out, right, controlling that and where that goes becomes more difficult. And that's why typically corporates tend to control the social media of their individuals within that business a lot more than small companies. And but it's a power of a small company as well. You can perhaps take a few more risks.
I think you can, because of how directly you can speak to the top person and say, would you say that? Is that okay? You know, that kind of thing. Sometimes, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think this is more for LinkedIn than any other platform that I might deal with.
Yeah.
It all stays pretty vanilla over on Facebook and Instagram and things like that. LinkedIn is there's a lot more think pieces, and there's a lot more opinion pieces that you'll see, which those are the things that really create engagement and really help you to get to know the company. I think in a social media VA role, your job, as it were, is to talk about what they do, how they do it, how to engage their services. And if there's personality pieces, like what I would call about us engagement, personal stuff, that generally comes directly from the individual, and there doesn't tend to be much difference between the business and the person, because they're quite small companies. I guess if you were a bigger company, you might go for a digital marketing agency, for example. So it would be a kind of a different kettle of fish to what I do, I guess.
Yeah, and that would include a lot of overall PR perspective. So you'd actually get not just someone producing sort of marketing content. You would have an overall PR piece about, what does our PR for the business look like? What perspective are we putting out there in terms of our overall voice and narrative at events, and if we do a conference, if we do a webinar, if we do an in-person event or whatever, what do our bags look like? Who are we getting in as guest speaker? There's an element of that, I think, that comes into even content produced at a sort of just a content level. But once you get bigger, you're going to look at it in a much broader sense. So you start to get,
Yeah, you'll have a branding document. So when I worked for a large housing association for a little while, I had a branding document. I had words we could use, colours. Yes, it was really terrifying. No, it was fine. But you had to be, what happened in that case is that I write and then I get it authorized. So on Trello, you can tag the other people on the board and you say, is that all right to go out, kind of thing. So that's how we got around that, which is good.
And Sarah, are there any posts that you've written that you've really loved that someone's gone, nah, not for me, and you've not quite, you've looked and gone, I don't get where they're coming from. I thought that was really, really on point. You don't have to name obviously the person in the post, but is there anyone that you've gone, oh, that was a great bit of work, and they wouldn't let it loose?
You know, I'm going to sound really arrogant now, but no, that hasn't happened because
That's all right.
I end up getting to know my clients so well and
Yeah.
like what they would say and what they wouldn't say. And now and again, I'll get one where, like, so I was looking after a Reiki master for a little while and she did other sort of holistic stuff. And I'd come up with stuff and she'd go, oh, yeah, I meant to talk about that. I'm so glad you said that, you know, and it's
Yeah.
like, it's kind of cool, made me feel good. So I've been really, really fortunate that I've met with people that really vibe and resonate with me, and I get what they're trying to do. I don't think I've written anything that anyone's gone, no. So so far, touch wood,
So good.
no.
I'll be honest,
Graham,
I have.
I can see. I was going to say I'm going to flip the question to my left or right, whichever way you're looking at it. But I thought, come on, I can see the cogs turning, and you're
Yeah,
thinking.
no, I have. And do you know what? Those people aren't clients anymore, because ultimately, if they don't trust you to
Yeah.
to do what you do best, right, then they shouldn't be a client.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have that. You can't have that. You're the expert in that situation, not them.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean to say they're necessarily wrong, although their figures would show it. But they're wrong. Look, at the end of the day, everybody. The thing is with content creating as well is that typically I would guess that people gravitate towards a particular content creator, partly because they see their content in the first place. Right now, this has always interested me to some degree, which is that it amazes me why some people would pick somebody because they see their content and they know that their content is performing and they like what they're trying to do with their content. And then if you then start with them and you start to produce content that was of a particular flavor, and if you're known for pushing boundaries a little bit, you push boundaries a little bit, and they go, we don't want to do that. It's like, well, why did you pick me in the first place? Because I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to push boundaries a little bit. So I think it's about find the right people.
Yes. Oh, and there have been clients that haven't been a very good fit. That happens, of course. And that's okay. I'm lucky to be in a lot of VA community, some very good VA communities where we all say, oh, well, this happened and this client doesn't like me anymore. And you go, don't worry, the right one's coming along after. That happens, of course. And it's not their fault either, that you don't know what it's going to be like working together until you do.
I mean, that's got to be the same with you, Stephen, when you're talking to clients about the products that you do. There must be clients or potential clients that you go and see where they go, well, basically we want the cheapest of the cheap.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be educated. They don't want to,
box shifters.
They want to buy something out of a catalog. They don't want to know whether this one's better than this one, or whether this one does this and this one does that and whatever. And you'd be completely wasting your time.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, definitely. And there are people where I've had meetings with, and again, like you said there, the people you've had it aren't clients anymore. And there's no current client, I would say that. But there are some people who have had conversations and just gone, this isn't the right fit. You're not going to project our brand, but you're also not going to do anything for yourselves, because the way you're going to project our brand isn't going to generate business for you. And I can just see this not working. So it doesn't happen a lot, but there are some people there you go, no, I don't think it's that temptation, certainly in sales, that temptation to sort of get a new client on board and go full steam ahead. But then sometimes you've just got to think, but am I just going to create a problem in 3, 6, 9, 12 months time? And you've maybe got to go, not the right one for me. Thanks, but no thanks. As tough as it is, probably the same with both of yourselves. You've probably had conversations with potential new clients, and there's something, and you've gone, well, I can get X number of hours of work a month, from them, but is it the right fit? Do I want this? Am I just going to have a problem in a few months' time?
I have to say, I don't know about you, Sarah, as well, but I've got to be kind of genuinely pretty excited about what it is that the person's doing. I don't know whether you. For me, my fit with clients is. I mean, I had a call from someone yesterday that was, referred on to me. And I was having this conversation with them, and I was like, just not interested at all about this as a business. Now, that might say a lot more about me than it would about them, right? They might be genuinely excited, but I didn't get the kind of tone from this person that they were in the business because they wanted to do something amazing, right? They sounded to me like they were in this business to make money and make money quick over the next couple of years and then get out. And that kind of really puts the shutters up for me to begin with, because I just don't feel like I want to be part of that, right? But yeah, I have found that I've generally gravitated towards people that want to change the world. So that's, hence why I call my business A Better Way of Life. The kind of Me Too type businesses are I can write that sort of stuff. I can probably put them on a different page. If they want to come to me and they want to do it, they have a Me Too kind of product, but they want to do it differently, right? And they want to be a bit more spicy, then I'm happy to do that. But if they just want me to write Me Too content about Me Too, and but someone that's got a passion for actually making change happen, I tend to gravitate towards those.
I find that very enviable. I'm not in that position financially, but sometimes I will get a red flag if I think, like if you're on a call and they say, what's your rate? And you tell them and they go, oh, could you do me a deal or anything like that? I get a little red flag then. I get a little worried about those. Or about maybe how difficult they are to get hold of. So you do need to be able to communicate quite frequently. That's pretty key. But on the whole, there have been a couple of times where I thought, I'm really not sure if I'm excited to work with this particular business. And then I've ended up learning loads from them. And it's ended up changing me and changing the way I work. So I do still sometimes I'll give the benefit of the doubt and think, okay, hang on, let's just see how this goes. But yeah, if I think that they're going to be difficult to communicate with, I find that quite tricky. I do need to be able to get hold of them and ask them stuff, and that's my main issue.
Yeah, no, that's kind of essential. I've got to ask you about AI. I mean, since the plethora of AI has arrived on the horizon, and everybody talks about it, and to begin with, everybody. Do you remember there was a time when everybody was talking about, I've written this post with AI, how brilliant it is, and whatever. And every copywriter under the sun was going, oh gosh, here we go. Yeah. But where do you sit on it? Have you found help, hindrance? Has it helped your business? Because people have now that the dust has settled, people have realized that actually, if it's all written with AI, it all looks the same. And actually, I need a bit of personality and whatever in there. Do you use it at all? Do you use it cleverly?
Yes, I do use it. I use it as a tool. So starting with a blank page, I'm sure you understand, it can be tricky. And if you don't know the ins and outs of the business, so one particular client I've got is a plumber. Now, I don't know a great deal about plumbing, unfortunately. And he's not a most...
No, Mario, that's it.
No, that's it, exactly. Red overalls, that's it.
Yeah.
He's not the chattiest man in the world, and he's not the easiest to get hold of because he's a really busy guy. So sometimes I'll use AI to help me with post topics. So what would be something that the future client would like to know about? So it might be, all your boilers noisy, this is what to look for, blah, blah, blah. That is just a helpful tool. It's a bit like Googling it, really. I don't use it to write, just because, like you say, it does sound a bit weird. and it spells everything with Z's instead of S's and does exclamation
Yes.
points and rockets and stuff. So that's not so good. And also there are a few pieces of content for my clients that are spotlights on particular either services, or let's say for one of them is that they've got 30 different properties and we talk about them periodically. I might try and change up some of the wording using AI, because you might not think of it. And if it sounds good, I use it, and if it doesn't sound so good, I don't use it.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw this quickly to Stephen because I've never really asked
Okay.
it. Are you using AI in your business much?
Personally or the business?
Both.
The business, yes. Personally, no. I'm
No.
scared of it. I haven't
Are
done
you?
anything with AI. I'm not really scared of it. I haven't in what I do, I don't have at the minute that sort of requirement for it. And you know, a lot of the things that I do, you probably see my posts are a little bit shorter, snappier, that probably need my personal input into it, and I'd like to control that because I'm not doing extended longer pieces. Mine tend to be shorter, punchier pieces that really, for me, I should be able to, and B, I want to pull that together, but I'm not, I'm talking about very short, punchy pieces of work, but I'm not using it. It obviously, inevitably, it will be being used within our organization, and at some point I'll need to bring it into what I do, but at the moment, mine is, I don't quite see it coming into my world personally as yet, but I think it's inevitable. It will be integrated into what I think and what I do.
You see, I think it's brilliant. I love
Oh,
AI.
it is brilliant. I love it. It's brilliant. It's just I just don't at the minute see a huge amount of input for me personally in my day-to-day job.
My take on AI is that it's a brilliant tool, and that actually the more creative a brain that you use with AI, the better you get, right? And the problem with AI, but it's not a problem with AI, it's a problem with humans, is that most humans are lazy. And
Ooh,
no, I'm going to say that. I think a lot of humans are lazy. People gravitate towards the lowest common denominator. If they can do something quickly and easily without them putting any effort into it, they will do it. Right. And that's where it lets people down. Right. So for me, I always start with what's the biggest thing we can do right here that nobody's done before. And then how can I use AI to achieve that in an amount of time where it would normally take weeks, right? In like minutes, so that actually I can put that out into the world in an incredibly creative way. Now, a great example of that was like last night, I put on a post where it's a post that's been seen before, right? About a dog that's in bed and, finding out what kind of pizza he is, right? Now that post has gone viral on loads of different platforms in the past, right? But the bit for me that has always been missing out of it is the pizza quiz, because the dog in the viral, it's a meme, and in the viral meme, the dog is talking about people finding out what kind of, or he is trying to find out what kind of pizza he is, right? And my creative brain went, well, if the bit that's never been done in that post is the quiz about what kind of pizza you are, why don't I generate the quiz about what kind of pizza you are? So I used AI yesterday to create the code for the website to generate a whole website where people could take the quiz and find out what kind of pizza they were. Right. So then I attach that to the original post to take that post into a completely different sphere from where it had ever been before. Right. So for me, it's about trying to think of the biggest opportunity and using normally that would have taken like hours and hours of coding and whatever, and graphic work and whatever to produce this website, right? And like no one would have done it. And that's why no one's done it in the past. But I thought, I'm going to do it because that would be fun. No one's ever done it, right? And it's interactive. People are going to take the quiz, find out what kind of pizza they are, and then engage with the post, you see? And it works because it's different. So I think it's about how big you allow your idea to be in the first place, and then can you use that tool in order to achieve that?
And I've just realised I've lied to you. There's a big confession for the Good Friday show. I have used AI, and I used it because I was doing an event on a certain platform, Graham, that you can probably guess what it was, and they wanted a spiel. What was the whole event about? And I'd got total brain freeze on it. So I used AI to give me what, in effect, what similar to you were saying, said, give me a bit of a draft. And then I went in and changed it to how I wanted it. But I think I'd got that situation, but my brain wouldn't get started. So it's all coming back now. It was really useful when you'd got a bit of brain fog, or I just couldn't think of anything. And yes, it did get changed a lot, but it kick-started me and gave me that one or two ideas to get everything sort of rolling. So AI, I love you. I do use you. I take it all back.
There you go. I love that. I think that's one of the great spaces where it can be used. I think if for example, there's elements where it's quite dry as well within the research of a business. I think this is kind of pulling up from what you said, Sarah, right? To expedite that knowledge growth very quickly. I mean, what I've done is, for example, when I've written for ergonomics companies and people go, there's some fascinating facts there in this white paper. And I've looked at the white paper, and the white paper's 200 pages long, right? In the past, I would have had to read that, right? But now what I can do is I can actually put that into my AI, and I can ask AI to give me the salient points and granulate that down and go, actually, what I want to know from here is I want to know what are the main points that are being raised here, and can you give me maybe example quotes from within there that actually back up the main argument, and which shows that someone shouldn't have written a 200-page white paper in the first place, because it then comes out with 100 words which succinctly say what that whole white paper said, right, with the main argument and a decent quote. And don't get me started on why do academic people write long-winded twaddle when actually they could just write it in a sentence. But there you go. But that's what I would use it for, and that then gives me something concrete, and I would make sure it is in there and it is right and whatever else as well. But it's that saves a lot of time, right? But that can then form a great basis of, you know, decent, well-written professional copy with you know, stuff to actually back up what you're saying, coming from a white paper, etc., but would have taken you ages to read it in the first place, and everyone would have gone to sleep. So
I wonder if I can dumb things down a little bit and share with you one of my favorite uses of AI that I've discovered recently. If you're into manifesting and affirmations, you can get ChatGPT on your phone or wherever. You can put in 3 things that are a goal for your business or financial goal, 3 goals for your relationships, and 3 goals for your future or something like that. You could put it in ChatGPT and you can say to it, can you write me a sweet bedtime story about these goals that I've got?
I love that.
And what comes back is a little story, and mine is read in a shockingly similar voice to the guy from The Hobbit, whatever his name is, about, and you can get it to read it to you. Like, you can read it yourself, or you can get an audio of it, and you can listen to it every night, and it says it as if it's happened. Like, I am so happy that I've got blah blah money in my bank account, and that we're doing this and that we're doing that. And I just thought it was a really uplifting way to use AI, and I love it.
I think that's brilliant.
Yes.
I think I genuinely think if people use it in creative hands, I think it will actually allow us to enjoy work more
Yeah.
going forward, because I think it will allow us to focus on what it should do. Is it should be used in a way where it allows us as human beings to use the creative part of us more and not focus on the tedium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
Well, like you just said, perfect example, 200-word document summarized in 100 words, 200-page document summarized in 100 words. Why would I waste my time reading that document when I can have a nice little summary that I can read through in probably 2 or 3 minutes? Look at all that that wasted time you're getting back. The
Yeah.
gift of time.
It does beg the question, why does someone have to write it like that in the first place, doesn't it? I mean, it's because academia is academia, and you know, you have to, or it's almost legal, isn't it, in a way? You have to almost labor and argue the point in a particular way for it to be academically correct. But Joe Blogs needs to have that broken down. So I think it's great. But you know, these are great ergonomic conversations, you know. And actually, Sarah, I just asked you before you came on here today, had you considered just how ergonomic your solution is to a lot of your clients out there?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
I'd say it is. I'd say anybody that's helping their client to put their voice out into the market, right, without them having to spend the time doing that, it's following an ergonomic principle, because actually what it's allowing to happen, and ultimately a lot of ergonomics is about this, right, is actually taking the sort of weight off of any kind of process that actually causes a problem, and allowing somebody else to do that so you can focus on things that keep you well.
Yeah, very true.
You know, so you're gonna have to crowbar ergonomic into your job title somewhere there, like we saw people doing it with chairs and things like that, Graham, and COVID all over Amazon.
That's
putting
easy.
The word ergonomic in.
Ergonomic social media VA. It's
social. Got to tag that. That's got to be done.
Got to be done.
Got to be done.
Actually, I think what you should do is you should just try doing that in a post next week sometime when we've got. I'll give you some clips from here, and just see whether anyone picks up on it. It'd be quite interesting, wouldn't it, to see, you know. Now, before you go today, and thank you for being such a fantastic guest. And folks, if you've got your little business out there and you're thinking, oh gosh, I've got to write all of this stuff, I'm a bit scared, social media, don't really know where to start or whatever, do give Sarah a little call. There she is. She's waiting for you. She will help ease you into the world of getting online nice and easy. But we need to ask you, how are you working there? Do you work laptop? Do you work a full computer? What's it look like?
So I've got a laptop, and it can be either at a desk or at the kitchen table. And I do also have a lap desk, if you've come across those.
Oh yes, to sit on your Okay.
Yeah.
So what we'd like to do as a little thank you is if afterwards, if you could send us a little photo of what that looks like, maybe at the table or whatever, Stephen will get in touch with some little bits and pieces to help make your working environment even more comfortable.
If you're going to have ergonomic in your job title, you're going to have to be able to back it up, aren't you, really? So we need to help you out.
I am. It's so true.
There we go.
Absolutely. And actually, here's a very quick one just before we go, a very quick one. So with the glasses, are those standard glasses, varifocals, bifocals? Standard. There you go. That's fine. Do you know why that's important?
I know you're going to tell me. I think I know the answer, but go ahead.
Okay. Because how the computer's set up and what height the screen is at, etc., it will vary if you wear different types of glasses.
Okay.
Right. So that's always an important question to ask. And any of you doing DSE assessments out there, do make sure you ask that question. If somebody is a glasses wearer, do not necessarily assume that the monitor height has always got to be at the same height, right? Because actually, if they're if they're wearing bifocals, for example, right, you may end up with them going like that.
Yeah.
Gives me an idea for a post, because these were made by my clients, an optician. So thank you.
Oh,
There you go.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's plenty of if you, in fact, get in touch, because if you've got an optician for a client, there's other things that we could potentially do there as well, including stuff around visual impairment. What a wonderful day that was, talking about social media, talking about ergonomics, segueing it all in just like that, folks. You will not see anybody from the Wow Ergonomics team talking about presidents of the USA, rogue comedians, or anything like that on any of our posts. But what we will do is we will give you help and advice about just how to work more productively and comfortably. And thank you today to our wonderful guest, Sarah, who no doubt you will see some little clips from in the week, because I will provide them to her via the AI. We will be back in 2 weeks' time. Until then, don't eat too much chocolate. It's not good for you. And if you're going to eat a lot of chocolate, do send me and Stephen some.
Yeah,
that's
please.
all I can say. And Sarah, what kind of, very quickly, what kind of chocolate, Sarah?
Galaxy.
Other milk chocolates are available. Stephen?
Yes. Yeah. Some sort of dark chocolate, don't mind. Dark for me, thank you.
And I'm going to go, do you know what? It's a full house. I'm going to go white, dark, and milk. There you go. We are ethnically perfect on this show in terms of our chocolate colours. Right.
Yeah.
We will be back soon. Bye for now.